Я вроде вы выглядите окей. Смотрите. Дебрю. Менеджер. Раз, два, три. Раз, два, три. Добро. Как меня слышно? Добро. Как меня слышно? Может, я больше делаю? А вот так вот? Больше делаю. А вот так вот? Должно быть уже лучше. Должно быть уже лучше. Я боюсь, чтобы не было перегруза. Я, конечно, поставлю, чтобы немножко вот так вот. О. Поставлю, чтобы немножко вот так вот. О. Да. О. А может быть и есть. Может, это у меня. Ну ладно. Уже перегруз. Ладненько. А есть возможность крыть? Ой-ой. Что-то так ему плохо стало аж. Вернись. А если я открою на весь экран? Ой-ой. Очень плохо ему. Сейчас. Угу. Ладно. Мне казалось, что оно должно было автоматически само как бы наладить, но нет. Он решил, что он знает лучше. Ну ладно. Да, я сделаю еще вот так вот. Уж точно. Так. Ага. Вот. Все. Нормально. Теперь нормально. Что мне не сразу обновляет. Ладно. Я боюсь, чтобы не было слишком тихо. Бо у меня тихо идет почему-то. Ну ладно. О, добро. Так. Добро. Я закрываю тут и смотрю тут. Минуточку. Есть. Вот это можно. Окей. Бред. Подарочные подписки как раз когда этот. Ну да, вон. Бред. Ту-ту-ту-ту. Досkonałe połączenie. Там на ютубе выглядит нормально тоже, да. Поэтому битрейт отличный. Звук хорошо, микрофон работает. Да, вроде все. Алерты тоже есть. Я кому я нафиг срался? Ну да, все ок. Загрузки нет. Теперь кадров тоже нет. Окей. Дропсов нету. Layout можете сделать даже, ладно. Я даже не знал. New. Окей. Уже 53 тысячи. Тысяч. А где мои наушнички, мне интересно? Здесь мои наушнички. Сейчас батарея сдохнет. Мгм. Да. Так. Ту-ту. Пять минуточек осталось. 5 минуточек. Мгм. Мгм. М-м. Ё-моё, прикинь, приходит один, уходит один. Ё-моё, хоть напиши привет, пока-пока, привет, ё-моё. Хоть пошли нафиг меня, ёб твою налево. Что за приколы, ну. Зачем себе обновил микрофон снова? Чтобы просто так? Что меня никто не послал? Пипец. Зайди, пошли нахуй. М. Блин, нужно будет сменить язык, ёпта. Потом задолбал. М. Мгм. Минута. Ой, минута осталась. Посмотрим, что здесь выйдет сейчас интересного. Звери. Новые подклассы. Не знаю. Какой-то эндгейм контент еще дополнительный. Фиг его знает. Исправят классы, может. Мана стакеров, может, исправят КС. Не знаю. Посмотрим. Из этого все выйдет. Посмотрим. Ладно.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers,
Поехали.
Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Welcome to GGG Live. Well, it's been a little over 3 months since we launched Early Access, so it's about time for our first major content update. Today, we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, which launches on April 4th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's livestream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Executioner's Guillotine finisher effect. Now in today's stream, we're going to take you on a deep dive into the new Dawn of the Hunt update. We'll cover a new class,
новые классы,
5 new
новые
ascendancy
сервисы.
classes, and huge expansions on character systems like unique items and support gems. After that, it's on to the in-game improvements, including
Ну вот
changes to
весь список,
systems,
что
a
будет.
bunch of new
Ясно.
encounters, and lots of other content. We're going to finish up today with a
Ого,
live
битрейт аж
Q&A
просел.
session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile 2's game directors, myself and Mark, your questions from Twitch chat. Now we have a lot to cover today, so let's get started with a trailer for
Куча,
Path of
короче
Exile 2,
говоря,
Dawn
эндгейма,
of the
уники
Hunt.
переработанные.
We as Mary are
Ascendancy
guided
будет
by the
новый.
Spirit. It provides prey, shelter, even love. But for me, one day, all that were changed.
Ну и вот этот новый
The
класс.
Spirit,
Это
it showed
охотница,
me
походу.
something. Something forbidden. And to defend all I loved,
Ого,
I used it.
что мне подлагивает. Мне это не кажется.
I lost everything that day. But fate weren't finished with me yet. I'll right the wrongs I've done. I'll do what I must, no matter the cost. I will hear the Spirit once more.
О, ездовый так. Сколько скиллов таких.
Don't make me kill you. I shall bathe in your blood.
Новые мапки, неплохо. Новые улики, да. Смотри. Как он повлиял. Сейчас они будут по череду проходить и показывать. И все, то есть на этом все.
Now, as you can see, in Dawn of the Hunt, we're introducing the first new class since early access to PoE 2, the Huntress. The Huntress is a spear-wielding Asmeri warrior. Born into a society with strict traditions, she was exiled from her homeland after using the power of a skill gem to defend her village. As a dexterous spear user, she specializes in both melee and ranged combat, dashing into and out of battle.
С копьем.
Spears have extended range and a short dash, but unlike other melee weapons, you can also throw them. In order to make a hybrid ranged and melee character work, we had to do a lot
Да,
of thinking
сейчас
about
все
ways to
будут
make it
начинать
fun to both
играть.
enter and exit melee range.
Такое себе.
The first skill you will get as a huntress is Whirling Slash. As well as striking in a circle around you, this skill creates a whirlwind that blinds your enemies. Leaving the whirlwind will make it explode. The more Whirling Slash is used, the bigger the whirlwind, and the bigger the explosion. Once you're out of there, you'll want to follow up with something ranged. Whip your spear around to shoot twisters towards your foes.
Интересно. О,
These
вот это
twisters bounce off
интересно
walls
тоже.
and can hit enemies multiple times. You can also throw twisters inside a whirlwind to shoot out extra tornadoes that do way more damage.
Я уверен, что этот ураган будет
In her
не
offhand,
еще.
the huntress will usually want to hold a buckler, which allows you to do a new skill, parry. While holding down parry, your character will counterattack any incoming attack from monsters near you, stunning them. In addition, the monsters will take extra attack damage from your follow-up strike. Some specific skills are designed to be used after a parry and have extra effects. Disengage is a skill that does a quick jump back, damaging enemies in front of you, and it can be used to interrupt other actions, like dodge roll. If you use it against a parried enemy though, it causes an explosion and gives you a frenzy charge. Just be careful. If you parry too much, you're going to get stunned and possibly killed. You can combine this combo with Whirling Slash. Slash, parry, disengage, and you'll get an explosion from the disengage and the Whirling Slash. The Huntress also has a variety of elemental spear throw attacks. You could use Lightning Spear to bounce lightning between your foes,
Ну, вот
or you could
интересно
throw
тоже.
explosive spears into the ground. These spears take a while to detonate, but when they do, they'll incinerate anyone caught in the blast. All spear throws on the Huntress can also be empowered by frenzy charges. For example, explosive spears will do an even larger explosion and leave fire on the ground. And these empowered versions can activate even more combos. Using Whirling Slash over ground fire will suck it into the whirlwind, adding fire to the explosion. Using twisters inside a fire whirlwind will shoot out fire tornadoes as well. And you can do similar combos with ice and lightning too. Now, a key aspect of hunting is exhausting your foes by causing blood loss. This skill is Rake, which dashes towards your target and unleashes a deadly slash, opening up wounds on your enemies. Follow up with Disengage and watch them bleed out as they run towards you. On the health bar of monsters, you can see how much blood loss the enemy has experienced, and the Huntress has skills to take advantage of this. For example, using Blood Hunt will thrust forward and cause a bloody explosion. The more blood loss, the bigger the explosion. If you want to cause bigger bleeds, try out Rapid Assault. The final hit of this multi-hit combo will stick a spear into your enemy for a big bleed. Now, Explosive Spear and Rapid Assault both result in leaving spears behind, either in the ground or in enemies. But there are other skills that leave spears around too, like Storm Lance, that leaves an electrical spear that arcs towards enemies. But what can you do with all these spears? Detonate them, of course. Thunderous Leap will allow you to jump onto and explode any spears either in the ground or in your enemies. Now, as well as hunting animals, the Huntress also has the ability to work with them. While fighting any
Дурацкий
beast,
этот
you have the
босс.
ability to tame it
Я
and use it as a
ненавижу.
companion. You can only have one companion at a time, but it will keep the mods that were on it. Try to find a rare beast with
Капец.
good mods to take full
Spectre?
advantage of your ability to tame them. Now, this is just the beginning of the Huntress. We've
То есть
really
всё-таки
tried to
добавили
make the hybrid
спектров?
ranged and melee gameplay work for this class by having a huge amount of synergy between ranged and melee options. There are 22 new skills available for the Huntress. By endgame, you'll be slinging hundreds of insanely powerful spears, sending forth spirit animals and summoning the might of Solaris from the sky. But we still haven't talked about ascendancy classes yet. What can the
Ну и
Huntress ascend
прикольные
into?
скиллы дальше.
Well, the first ascension class you could
Опа,
choose
да.
is the Ritualist. The Ritualist has embraced the darker side of his merry traditions
Ascendancy.
by harnessing the power of animal sacrifice and plague.
Взрывы трупов.
The Corrupted Life Force skill causes all enemies around you to grow volatile blood boils on their skin. When those enemies are slain, the boils will burst, spreading corrupted blood to all enemies around them. The Ritualist also excels in taking advantage of magical trinkets. The Unfurled
А, у
Finger
него
skill
еще
allows
и
you to
слот
equip an
под это
additional
будет,
ring
еще одно
on a finger
кольцо.
around your neck.
Жесть.
Taking Mystic Attunement increases the bonuses of all the rings and amulets you have equipped. Now, this is one of my favorites. As the Whisper's Ask grants you a new skill, Ritual Sacrifice. Use the skill on the corpses of slain rare monsters to absorb the power in their blood,
Ты можешь
to give you
поглощать
one of their
монстра.
modifiers for a short time.
И походу
Specialize further
получить
into
этот,
ritualistic sacrifice with
его
As the
баф.
Whispers Demand, which allows you to perform that skill on yourself instead of a corpse. Cut your own hand, sacrificing some of your own blood to empower yourself.
Ну, я такой, знаешь, типа, я
The
смотрю,
Amazon Ascension is
ритуалист
for those
выглядит
looking to
как
hunt
бы,
more than just beasts.
как этот
Trained as an
Headhunter,
elite
только,
guard to the most
блядь, в
important as merry
виде,
elders,
не знаю,
the Amazon will
восхождения.
use more traditional fighting techniques mastered to perfection. The Predatory Instinct skill will cause you to reveal weaknesses in the defenses of rare and unique enemies, causing you to deal more damage. You can see those weak spots represented on their life bars.
Бля, на
Using
нем будет,
elemental
на ней
infusion,
будет офигенно
any charges you
монстакер.
consume will infuse your weapon with elemental power, causing any projectile attacks to explode on impact. The critical strike skill is as simple as it sounds. It takes your excess accuracy and gives it to you as critical strike chance. Additionally, you have skills like Mystic Harvest, which allows your elemental damage to leech life, and as Merry Brew to be able to use either flask to restore both life and mana. So those are the two new ascendancies for the Huntress. But those are not the only ascendancies in Dawn of the Hunt.
То бишь, у тебя есть
Added a new
оружие,
ascension
ты
class
можешь
for three of
усилить
the other
какие-то стихии
existing
оружия,
classes
если у тебя
too.
есть Power Charge.
First up, for our warriors out there, we have the Smith of Kitava. The warrior is a blacksmith in origin,
warrior
taught by his
was
father,
really
Renly. With this ascension, you can take your smithing skills to new heights by embracing power from the insatiable one himself, Kitava. Smiths of Kitava are master blacksmiths and have the ability to forge their weapon, quite literally. Using the Against the Anvil notable skill, you can enhance your weapon with fiery destruction before any battle. After doing so, your attacks will release explosions on hit for maximum devastation. You can also use the power of Kitava to summon an animated copy of your weapon to fight alongside you. A great blacksmith can do more than just forging their weapon, though. Their armor can be enhanced too. Now you might think this ascendancy class tree looks a little abnormal, and you're right. There's a lot of notable skills all disconnected at the bottom there. By taking this point here, which is free to assign, your character is unable to equip body armors with mods of any kind. So your body armor must be normal. Sounds like a downside, right? Except now in true blacksmith fashion, you get to craft your own body armor by taking those
Бафает
disconnected
твой боди
notables with your
армор, то есть
points.
твой этот.
If you want your body armor to grant life, take this notable. If you
То
want
есть у тебя есть там
resistances,
какие-то
take this
статы, и
one.
она может еще
There's so many
бафнуть тебе
choices.
больше.
Think of it like you're crafting
Ты
your
здесь
own body armor,
выбираешь, что
just
тебе
in a more
конкретно
literal
надо.
sense.
Прикольно.
Now, let's move on to those who prefer the reassuring feel of a crossbow in their hands, the Mercenary. Alongside the existing Ascension classes, the Gemling Legionnaire and the Witch Hunter, you can now play as the Tactician.
Окей,
The
новый
Tactician is a
класс
former
этого.
Blackguard elite. Free from the duties of a Blackguard, he is able to use his training to decimate the monsters of Rayclast and earn a healthy income doing so. This training comes in the form of various skills like suppressing fire, which causes all projectiles to pin enemies. When combined with the right where we want them notable, your pin not only stops your enemies from moving, but stops them from performing actions too, similar to freeze. With a soldier's training, the Tactician also works well cooperatively. Using the Whoever Pays Best notable, you can place multiple banners at once. The Watch How We Do It skill gives a portion of your weapon's damage to your allies as well. But if that isn't enough, you can also command your army of off-screen archers to unleash hell and carpet an entire area with arrows. Finally, Witch players will be able to join their legions by
Oh, ну
becoming undead
наконец-то.
themselves. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're introducing the Lich Ascension class. The Lich is a master of chaos and
Вот
curses
что я
and can
хочу.
sacrifice her life to enhance her
Блять,
energy
когда
shield.
наконец-то?
The
Мне интересно,
crystalline
будет
phylactery
нормально
skill
уже?
allows you to nominate a
О,
jewel in
соки,
which
ты
to
можешь
contain
туда
part of your
бахнуть
soul,
еще что-то свое.
massively increasing
Прикольно.
its power. There's just one downside to splitting your soul this way, though. If you have no energy shield, your mana costs will shoot up. The
Ага,
necromantic
что-то он
conduit
еще
skill
подбафит.
causes you and allies in your
Окей.
presence to have unholy might, granting extra damage as chaos damage. Rupture the Soul makes enemies you curse explode with chaos damage when slain. Dominion over Flesh allows you to apply an additional curse. It's safe to say you'll be the true master of the occult by choosing the Lich class. So Dawn of the Hunt has the Huntress
Ну,
and
блин,
5 new
выглядит
Ascension
такое себе.
classes.
Все равно эти
But
круги,
it
блядь,
doesn't end
рисую,
there.
они маленькие,
Let's take
блядь,
a look
там
at some of the new
чуть-чуть
skills with it.
забираешь, убиваешь.
Now you
этих
may
врагов.
remember we previously talked about the
такое
Raised
себе.
Spectre skill. It's finally complete and it will be made available in the upcoming expansion. It can be found in the occult skills on the skill gem crafting panel.
О, спектры.
Raise Spectre is a skill that allows you to trap the soul of almost any monster in the game,
Наконец-то спектры.
which you can then summon in the skill panel. Spectres cost spirit and will revive automatically if they die, but the spirit cost varies based on the power of the monster. You could summon an army of weaker monsters, or a few of the more powerful monsters.
Ой-ой-ой-ой-ой.
You can combine them with your existing skeleton minions, or summon exclusively specters. It's all up to you and how you want to customize your army of the undead.
Ну, теперь нужно найти
Given there are
хороших
hundreds
мобов,
upon hundreds
которые
of
можно
monster
в
variants
спектры
in part
брать,
of
либо
Exile
как
2,
баферы.
it's safe to say you'll be experimenting with this one for a while. We look forward to seeing which monsters serve you best. Now let's move on to our next skill. Since we've been talking about summoning undead so much, let's have a change of pace and summon something a little more alive. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're adding the Summon Rower skill.
Ага, это
Summon
отдельный
your friendly
скилл.
rower to aid you in combat as a minion.
Ты хочешь быстрее
You can also mount
передвигаться.
your rower in combat at any time, allowing you to move at full speed,
Ну,
even while
так
shooting arrows
зачем,
or
блин?
throwing
Оно же,
spears.
скорее всего, это занимает.
Be wary though, if you take too much
Speed.
damage while riding your mount, you can be knocked off and get overwhelmed. It's worth keeping an eye on your stagger bar, as falling off the mount can mean
Ну
almost
да, и,
certain
блин,
death.
потом тебя избивают, и
On
ты
the topic of
дохнешь.
new ways to
Какой
enhance your
бред.
character, let's talk about support gems.
Ну, саппорт
Support gems are
скиллы,
used to
окей.
modify your skill gems in meaningful and interesting ways.
Ну, окей,
Currently, we
3.
feel that a lot of builds have insufficient options here. To alleviate this, we're adding over 100 new
Что
support
это
gems.
сзади? А,
Hema crystals will
прикольно.
enable a new kind of bleed build, turning the
Какая-то,
damage over
значит,
time you
какое-то
would have done
время.
into explosive
Интересно.
vile crystals. Alignment is a support gem for bow attacks, which can reward skilled players with good positional skills.
Ну, прикольно
Caltrops
тоже.
will allow you to litter the battlefield with hazards, slowing your foes as you fling spears through their ranks. But there's plenty more for every playstyle, such as Enormity,
100 с новых саппорт
Unsteady
гемов.
tempo.
Прикольно, прикольно. О, вот это интересно тоже выглядит.
Profanity, Retaliate, Syzygy. Yep, that's a real word. And many more.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about a new class, new ascendancy classes, new skills, and new support gems. But let's not forget about the core of a true action RPG, the items.
И куча
To start
итемов
with, let's
новых.
talk about
Мгм.
uniques. We're adding over 100 new unique items. This time, we've made sure to add uniques with a focus on mid and end-game tiers to make sure there are more exciting items to find for higher-level characters. Let's look at some examples. Embrace your inner devil with Chernobog's Pillar. It grants you a large amount of fire damage based on your block chance. The Coming Calamity allows you to become a true master of the elements, granting you all 3 elemental herald skills without costing any spirit. At the same time, it penalizes enemy resistances.
Хорош, сразу
Wastegate is a
знаете.
belt useful for builds using a single resource like Blood Magic or Archmage builds. With
Неплохие
this belt, you can
уники.
use 2 life flasks or 2 mana flasks. It's up to you. Now, we could go through these all day, but we'll leave most of them for you to discover. Suffice to say, though, we want there to be way more cool things to find. Over time, our goal is to add a unique to every single base item type at a minimum, so that you can chance any base in the game. Now, given that we have the Huntress, we have a set of unique spears from early game all the way through to end game as well. One example is Scyther's Spear, which combines bleed and fire in a powerful way. It allows your ignites to be aggravated, dealing substantially more damage. We're also introducing a suite of unique bucklers with some interesting parry mechanics. Calgyra's Arc, for example, allows you to parry projectiles from any distance. And we're also adding our first unique charms. Bayra's Anguish will not only protect you from ignite, but will also emit a devastating fire nova whenever you do get
25%
ignite.
максимум лайв when you
In
use.
sum,
О,
there's
прикольно.
just a ton of new uniques to find. We can't wait to see
стакером
the weird
будет
and broken
прикольно.
builds that come out of it. Now, we also want to talk about crafting options. In
Oh,
each major
crafting.
update during early access, we'll be continuing to add and improve the options here. We have various new crafting tools that have been added as rewards to many of the different types of new content that we're adding. But for now, I just want to mention the changes to runes. Runes add commonly available mods.
О, какие-то
But since
руны
they only
надо.
have one tier, flat damage mods tend to get outclassed by endgame. So we've changed runes to have multiple tiers, allowing you to get higher tier mods than before. Our plan is to
Ой-ой-ой.
significantly expand the number of
Улучшение
more
рун.
specialized mods for crafting using socketables as we add new content over time. And the first new set of those comes from what we're talking about next. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're adding Asmerian wisps, which can be found throughout both the campaign and the endgame. The Asmeri spirit has made itself present in Rayquest,
ну вот
and it
животные,
appears
да,
to be
похоже
trying
на
to
животных.
warn, or maybe prepare us for the coming darkness. You will first encounter a manifestation of it
Рабисты,
in the
как в этом
Grellwood in
было,
Act
в твоей
1,
первом.
where
Да?
you'll meet Delwyn, an Asmeri hunter who is trying to find out what exactly is causing the spirit to behave this way.
Или это виспы.
As you approach the
Не,
wisp, it
виспы
will
больше.
flee, leading you past monsters.
Да, на виспы похоже
Any
больше.
monsters it comes into contact with are infused by it, making them more
Ты идешь
powerful.
за виспом и...
Each spirit is associated with a specific revered animal within Asmeri culture. This
тебе
one is a
напомню.
wisp of the
Мгм.
Great Bear and grants enemies extra life and stun. The wisp
Ну, они
moves
более
faster the
жирнее,
closer you
чем
are,
обычные.
and as you move away, they slow down to wait for you. But if you get too far away for too long, they'll dissipate and return to the woods.
Окей.
As you continue to chase the wisp, it will find and possess a rare or unique monster, granting it a new powerful ability. Because this was a wisp of the Great
Тоже
Bear,
какой-то фикшн,
this
да.
monster now also has increased life and stun. But on top of that, it will periodically summon a large spectral bear that slams with wild fury. If you're able to defeat this foe, you will be rewarded. For each monster that was infused and killed along the way, the rewards will be increased. Each wisp has its own mechanics. The Wisp of the Winter Owl is a primal wisp that causes enemies to deal extra cold damage, gain energy shield, and release wind vortices on death. When infusing a monster, they will call down large tornadoes to protect
Интересно
their
единственное,
host.
что то, что этот,
The Wisp of the
конечно,
Wild
баф,
Cat
это
is a
любой
vivid
висп,
wisp
вот
that
тут
causes
желтый,
affected
синий,
monsters to
там
deal more
розовый,
critical
и так далее.
strikes
Он
and
разными
become more
бафами
evasive.
накладывает на
When it
мапу.
infuses a
Единственное,
monster,
что
it
это
will summon a
дает.
barrage of
Какой
feline
лут мы с
spirits
этого
that will attempt
получаем?
to tear you limb from limb. If you're lucky, you may even find sacred wisps that can do some pretty crazy things to the
Секретность
monsters they
висп, еще если
influence.
ты удашь.
Like the Wisp of the Cunning Fox, which turns normal monsters into magics, magic monsters into rares, and rare monsters into actual bosses.
Можно это, встретить какого-то босса.
Asmerian Wisps can drop a new set of socketable items that allow you to craft a wide range of interesting new mods onto your items. Each one may only be used on a specific item slot.
Окей.
As mentioned, the
Это
Asmerian
руны, я так
Wisps can be
понимаю.
encountered throughout the game, but there's also a new endgame map called the Asmeri Ranges, a mountain village where the Asmeri once lived, now overrun with corrupt monsters. This map always has multiple Asmerian Wisps in it, and familiar,
Я так не увидел.
yet not quite the same boss fight. Asmerian Wisps can also be further modified by the endgame Atlas tree as well.
Ну,
And by
мап
tablets.
3, окей.
But I'm not going to be the one talking about those things. In order to cover all the new content in in-game, I'm going to hand things over to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts,
and
Game
Endgame
Director on
что-то
Path of
рассказывай.
Exile 2. There's a ton to talk about with the endgame today, so let's dig right in. Path of Exile 2's early access began with a brand new endgame, and it was clear that it needed a lot of work. After absorbing your feedback, we're ready to make some epic changes. The first thing is,
Много чего
we
сделано.
just need a lot more content. In Dawn of the Hunt, we have made sure to focus on increasing the sheer number of interesting and different encounters you will randomly stumble into as you explore the endgame. And the second goal is to smoothen the progression through maps and reduce the amount of annoying busy work. To start with, let's talk about the new interesting stuff to find.
О, сверху показывают
Well,
наконец-то, какие
the
контент
most
находится
obvious
на этой
thing to
карточке.
add are new
Наконец-то.
maps. As well as the Asmeri ranges that Jonathan mentioned earlier, Dawn of the Hunt also contains 7 other new maps, all with their own
Новые
custom
7
encounters.
видов мапов.
Let's start with this one.
The Feral Megaliths map starts off in the wild Ezomite forests. As you
Whoa,
progress
look
through
at
the
you.
forest, you will find mysterious rune-carved stones that, when touched, surge with energy. After activating all the stones, you can find a grand henge, where all the energy is coalescing. You can then start an encounter. The area darkens, a storm moves in, and a concentration of energy summons a dangerous boss. You must fight and defeat the boss to get its rewards. Once you have defeated it, summon another. And another. And another. And another. You have 10 total waves
Ага,
of
то
boss
бишь,
fights which get
правильно я понимаю,
incrementally
что
more
они
difficult.
переработали карточки так,
If
что
you
ты
manage to
не
defeat them,
приходишь
you
и
get
убиваешь
full boss
босса, а
rewards,
тебе нужно
but
эти руны
also
искать, которые
opportunities to
показывают
get
другие
new
руны, и
runes.
ты открываешь потом
These
босса.
can only be obtained from this map. The Fractured Lake contains a surreal waterscape with fractured mirror-like objects. As
Whoa.
you move around the map, the terrain itself elevates from below, creating the ground you walk on. In this unique map, all the rare monsters are mirrored, so you're always
Или
fighting
же
two of
это
the
просто
same rare
как
at the same
боссов ты
time,
бьешь
which can prove
отдельно.
quite difficult.
Не
If you
понимаю.
manage to overcome that challenge and make it to the end of the map, you'll be presented with a broken mirror, a powerful altar-like object that contains an item within it. The item contained within is a new base type,
ладно.
either an amulet or a ring, that can be crafted to have additional
Ну,
prefixes
какой первый?
or
Ну, окей.
suffixes at the cost of the other. The last unique map we'll show today is one based around the essence mechanic. You enter a crystalline cavern, and you will find a powerful map boss imprisoned in the center. It is surrounded by many rare monsters, also imprisoned in essences. By freeing and defeating the
Окей,
rare
ну тут
monsters,
эти,
the essence they
чтобы...
held will be
Я
upgraded to a
понял,
greater
добавили
essence
еще
and be
обозначение, где
added
есть
to the
эссенция.
imprisoned map boss. How brave are you? How many essences will you add to the boss? Overdo it, and you might lose everything. Underdo it, and you might regret it. It's your choice.
Ой,
Speaking of essences, alongside visual improvements,
О,
you're now
показывалось,
able to
сколько еще
apply
порталов
Varlogs to
осталось,
corrupt
кстати
the
говоря, когда
essences
умираешь.
with a range of unpredictable outcomes. It could increase the number of essences, re-roll all the essences to the same type, or even upgrade the essences to greater essences.
Ага, караптом можно
What
улучшить
if they're already
эссенцию.
greater essences? Well, it can upgrade those too. We have 4 new corrupted essences. Essence of Hysteria, Delirium, Horror, and Insanity.
Each corrupted essence has its own interesting combat mechanics. For example, the essence of Insanity causes you to question even your own mind, as monsters split into shadowy clones, and you must locate the real one before a devastating icy explosion freezes everything around it. Each of these has their own crafting outcomes. The essence of Insanity can be applied to a belt. It adds a mod that will ensure the next Varlorb used on the belt will guarantee adding 2 enchantments.
It's worth noting all the essences in the unique map can also be corrupted too, if you're willing to risk it. It's worth noting we have also added 10 extra Atlas passive points you can earn by completing 5 different unique maps.
Now, new maps are just the beginning. We had a goal where we wanted to make sure you were constantly finding exciting new content, and that it could be lurking around any corner. So, we have added a bunch of new things that you could stumble into in any map you run.
On your travels, you will sometimes encounter rogue exiles. Others like you who have been exiled and are openly hostile. Some are malicious, some are mad, while others are simply fiends for loot. They will challenge you, a fight to the death. They use the same skills available to players, and even the same items. They aren't just dressed up in those items, they're actually using them. It's going to feel like a true player versus player situation. Of course, if you are able to slay these exiles, those items will all drop on the ground. So if you encounter an exile using a powerful or valuable unique item, which you can see displayed under their life bar, you want to be damn sure you kill them. Because if they kill you and your party, they'll portal out, taking their items with them. Every fight will feel completely different depending on the items they come equipped with. These exiles are much smarter than your regular monster. They have capabilities to dodge roll, avoid your abilities with smart pathfinding, smart targeting, and much more action-packed gameplay. Fortunately, they're like you and they're not super durable. Unless, of course, they're wearing uniques like Calm's Heart,
Рок
in which
Exile
case
добавили.
expect a longer
И они
battle.
будут как персонажи
There are
иметь те же
12
самые скиллы,
different rogue
как
exiles you can find,
те же самые
each
скиллы,
with
что
their own
вообще есть в
skills and
игре.
personalities.
Поэтому
Some may insult you, while
очень
others may
трудно.
admire your honor in combat.
Another encounter you might stumble onto in Dawn of the Hunt are one of 4 new unique strongboxes.
Strongboxes are
новые
chests with
strongboxы.
modifiers. When you try to open them, they activate traps and spawn waves of monsters that you must defeat to access the loot. Let's take a look at 2 of the new unique boxes that are harder to find and behave just a little bit differently. The Ogham's Legacy Strongbox has a corpse splayed out in front of the rune-carved stone.
Окей.
Upon interacting with the stone, you activate Forbidden Ezomite magic, which revives the monster as a powerful rare. The Strongbox comes with a modifier which determines how many times it will revive that rare. Each time you defeat the monstrosity, the Strongbox revives it again, adding an extra modifier to the monster. With each resurrection, it becomes more difficult, but also more rewarding. This strongbox is infused with thaumaturgy from ancient File technology. Excel's Torment has a powerful artifact inside and is guarded by chaos itself. Defeating the monsters will grant you a unique item with a specific corrupted outcome. You'll have to find the other two for yourself to see what they do.
Намек на это.
Now, let's talk about the introduction to the
видели.
endgame. Upon starting the endgame, Doriani tasks you with cleansing corruption to help restore the land. However, in practice, the quest objective just sent you on a grind to clear 15 maps. We wanted to make the quest to unlock your Atlas passives much more interesting.
Now, Doriani is tasking you with a more specific objective. On the Atlas, you will find areas of corruption caused by the beast. In the center of each one, you will find a corrupted nexus, the source of the affliction. In the areas leading up to the nexus, you will notice that corruption spills out from slain enemies and amalgamates into powerful monsters. Corrupted maps existed on the Atlas before, but we've done significant work on improving these monsters. We've also done a full pass on the modifiers on these maps to make them more interesting and more rewarding. Once you reach the nexus, you will have a new task: cleanse the source of corruption. When you defeat the last rare in those maps, they will spawn one of 3 terrifying bosses, amalgamations of corruption itself. After defeating that boss, Doriani will come and cleanse the corruption for good. As the remains of the boss are purged of corruption, it coalesces into raw crystallized power, which you can use to gain points for your Atlas passive skill tree, the upgrade system that allows you to add and enhance content in your maps. We didn't stop there though. When you complete a corrupted nexus, all of the remaining surrounding corrupted maps will become
После эти мобы
cleansed
на мире,
maps.
похоже.
Cleansed maps also have new monsters, a new boss, and their own set of
Окей,
modifiers
то есть
and rewards.
не просто вот это эти
including
красные,
finding
как
fracturing
дополнительное,
mobs by
как было
slaying
на
cleansed
этих
enemies.
усложнения мобов на +1 уровень, а именно отдельная
These
механика,
orbs can
которая
be
будет
used in crafting on a
появляться,
rare item to
мобы
cause one of its
относительно
modifiers to
их,
become
и их можно
fractured.
фармить.
A fractured modifier is one that cannot be modified by any means. You are able to freely modify the item, ensuring the fractured modifier will never change. If you get the right item with the right mod, it can prove to be a very powerful crafting base indeed. You must now choose. Do you complete all the corrupted maps and then the
Фактурка это была.
Nexus? Or maybe you beeline to the Nexus, complete it, and do all the remaining maps cleansed. Both have rewards to entice you and challenges to assess.
Now, let's have a
Ой,
talk
я видел там
about
баллисты, кстати
towers.
говоря.
One thing we've had a lot of feedback on is the busy work around running towers and managing your tablets.
Йо-йо-йо.
The first change we've made here is that we have reduced the number of towers drastically. So there are now 1/3 as many as before, but we've made them much more powerful. To start with, tablets now inherently
То
add
бишь можно
twice as
теперь
many
3 таблетки
mechanics.
фигачить.
But that's not
Прикольно. Ой, что залагало.
all. Running higher tier maps and towers now increases the number of mechanics applied by tablets. By tier 15, the bonus is double, allowing a
Okay.
single tablet to now add 4 times as many mechanics as before.
Ага,
So,
можно сразу
We're
фигачивать
running
несколько
far fewer
механик.
towers, dealing with fewer tablets, and affecting even more maps than before. But because there are fewer towers overlapping with each other, you won't get as many opportunities to stack different tablets. In order to solve this, we've made it so that each tower can consume up to 3 tablets at once. You always get 1 slot on completing the tower, but if you can complete a tower with more mods on the waystone, you can unlock
Ага,
a
чем больше
second or
вы
third slot.
закроете
Overall,
таверов,
this allows for even more juicing from towers, while drastically reducing the amount of busy work you have to do.
тем больше у
On
вас
top
будет
of that,
слотов, и
towers
можете
are much more
использовать.
interesting maps because they
Меньше
can now spawn
таверов,
with
но они
all
будут
mechanics,
эффективнее, больше
including bosses.
брать
Each tower map
радиуса.
has a new boss. Let's
Okay.
take a look at a couple here.
The boss fight of the Alpine Ridge map has 2 powerful witches contesting for territory. One witch has an affinity for ice, the other fire. Who will win? Hopefully neither.
Новые боссы, короче.
The boss of the Sinking Spire map is a remnant of the
Ой,
Val
не,
that has been
боже
charged
мой.
with the lightning. It
А,
uses a full
огненный
suite
был
of
этот
lightning
электрический. Они
abilities.
меняют, ну,
But be
как бы те
careful.
же самые, но
If any
меняют
of them hit the
другими
surrounding
свойствами будут
constructs, they will power up.
бить.
Another thing that we've seen a lot of feedback about is sustaining waystones. As we looked into it, we realized that the people who couldn't sustain waystones were dying a lot. a lot more than we had expected. And that made us realize something. During the campaign, the expectation is that you can die multiple times in order to learn how to overcome challenges. You are able to learn how the monsters behave, adapt to their skills, and eventually overcome them. But as soon as you get to the endgame, you are effectively no longer allowed to die if you want to sustain waystones. By the time you are getting towards the end of endgame, we want you to have to be careful not to die. But it certainly shouldn't be that we have such a sudden shift as you run your first maps.
The first change we're making is you can now respawn and return to a map if you die. Continuing from where you left off.
Все-таки
When you start the
вернули
endgame,
механику
you get
6
up to
порталов.
6 total attempts
Блин,
per. As you add more modifiers to a waystone, the number of respawns goes down. This means that as you get to the point that you're running
да,
every waystone as a rare, you will have to be more careful.
Ага, то
In
есть
parties, everyone gets to respawn
тебе
that
дается,
number of
сколько раз ты
times.
можешь вернуться, даже если ты умрешь. Но они будут рандомно количество.
But we still think it's important that you can kill a boss in one go. In order to allow that to happen, we've
Окей.
made a
То
change
бишь,
so that
чем
once
больше
you start the
модов на
boss
карте,
fight,
тем меньше
it changes
порталов,
over to the
тем
same
меньше
respawning
этот
system we
модов,
use for
тем
pinnacle
больше порталов.
bosses.
Окей, понял.
This means that the map owner can choose to respawn everyone at the
Ты
same
можешь сюда
time.
вернуться и дальше еще раз проходить. Ну, типа как
Another
альтернатива
complaint we've
неплохая.
seen a
может
lot
быть.
of is players not wanting to do the pinnacle content because of the experience penalty from dying. A change we've made here is that all pinnacle content now no longer grants experience, but also no longer removes experience on death either. Dawn of the Hunt also brings the first batch of Twilight Order reliquary keys from the early access supporter packs. These keys contain items selected by our supporters. They can contain any unique item found in Path of Exile 2. If the selected item is a pinnacle boss drop, then only special keys dropped by this content will be able to provide these items. For example, Hand of Wisdom in action can only come from a key dropped by Zesht. We're also making a change that allows pinnacle boss uniques to drop
Выглядит
in
как
any
реликварий,
difficulty.
короче. Да.
Rarer uniques will be rarer at lower difficulties, but still possible to find. This applies to the drop chances for the reliquary keys from this content as well. We spoke about towers and tablets earlier, but we have also added a suite of unique tablets. Each of these adds crazy interactions to the maps influenced by it. For example, this unique tablet allows you to run
рарные
any map
таблетки.
in a tower's radius without requiring connections, which can be quite useful for jumping gaps and traveling around your atlas. And this tablet causes all runic monsters spawned during expedition encounters to be duplicated, and weakens all expedition monsters that emerge from the ground. The Atlas tree has also been expanded, and you can find many of the new mechanics there, and improvements to existing ones too.
Тут будет новые. Ну, короче, новые механики на этом. И плюс
Now,
2
through this
поинта
live stream, we
на
have mentioned
Atlas.
quite a few new crafting options that we've added. New runes, corrupted essences, fractured mods, and jewelry crafting bases. But we did have just one more crafting system to talk about. Recombination.
Expedition was the
Recombinator.
only
Oh.
in-game mechanic that was lacking a crafting system, so that needed to change. Recombination is a mechanic that might be familiar to some
С этого же,
players.
блин,
It allows you to merge two items
рекомбинатор,
together,
не?
hoping to get
У
the
тебя был
best elements of
вроде бы
each on a
рекомбинатор? А,
single
нет,
new
была
item.
чистилка, не рекомбинатор.
This new crafting bench will be unlocked as you complete your first expedition, and requires artifacts
Споя
found
первого
during
это
expeditions
перекатилось
to
сюда.
fuel it. The rarer the mods on the item you are combining, the more expensive the cost.
Ну да, это говно
That
везде
wraps
валялось,
up
никому
all
не
the
нужно
major
было.
in-game changes we're talking about today. With all the system changes and new content, we can't wait to get in there, start blasting maps, and obliterating monsters. There is one more thing we wanted to clarify before we move on, which is that all the content we've talked about today will be made available in the existing early access leagues, so you can play your existing characters. However, there will be new leagues made for those who wish to start in a fresh economy. It is recommended to start over and get the full new experience in the
Новая
Dawn
лига и
of the
новая
Hunt
экономика
leagues.
будет. То есть чистого листа.
For all our existing early access players, we're really looking forward to joining you playing in this new update. For those who don't already have access and are interested in playing Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, you are able to at any time purchase an early access supporter pack at www.pathofexile2.com. Additionally, the Paladin and Penance supporter packs are now available to purchase in Path of Exile 2 and contain
Окей,
6
новые
microtransactions
саппорт-паки.
each,
И
and the
это
full pack's
обновление
face
будет
value
наставлено
in
на новой
points.
лиге.
All the microtransactions contained within these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. Thank you so much for your ongoing support. We're just about to start the Q&A with Ziggy D. With release at the end of next week, our community team will be posting crucial information you'll need for the release. Keep an eye on the news. On release weekend, we expect to launch the new mystery box and many new microtransactions, including Path of Exile 2's first alternate skill effects. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to playing the Huntress, trying new builds, and exploring the new endgame next week. We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so please get your questions ready.
Ну, очень неплохо. Мне нравится то, что саппорт скиллов дофигища. Наконец-то появились спектры. Это, блядь, то, что ждали, наверное, все. Очень многие, точнее, я бы сказал бы. Ascendancy, ну, немного, но тоже неплохо. Поэтому тоже неплохо. Ну, а подкасты я не знаю. Я не хочу подкаст слушать. Поэтому все. Так. Ну, что я могу сказать? Довольно-таки неплохо. Новый эндгейм. Переработка таблеток. Немножко переработали крафт. Окей, в экспедиции крафт. Какие-то там плюс дополнительные руны, тиры рун. Ездовой пэт, блин, за 100 спирита, который я не понимаю, на кой фиг он вообще нужен, честно говоря. Э, Поэтому, да, такое. Rogue Exile. Переработка красных зон. Теперь они как отдельно, типа, идут эти. Как отдельная механика. Эссенции более чаще появляются как отдельная механика. Мапка, получается, поинты для мапов увеличились на 2, помимо этого улучшений больше. Ну и, наверное, порталы. Очень прикольно то, что теперь больше накрафченный мапка у тебя, то порталов меньше. Ну, то есть неплохо выглядит. Ну, блин, прикольно, прикольно, очень прикольно. Поэтому да. Ну, моя оценочка такая, что это, наверное, пятерка. 4, 4,5 даже бы сказал бы. 4,5. Я хотел бы, наверное, здесь увидеть больше э, активных скиллов, потому что саппорт, конечно, классно, но активных скиллов хотелось бы больше. Э, Потому что в основном активные скиллы завязаны получается, на оружие, а оружие, то в зависимости от какое оружие ты берешь. И понятное дело, ну, не завязано оно прям, но, блин, что-то адекватное ты так не заберешь. Особенности не такие прям сверхъестественно интересные. Не знаю, я очень надеялся на яды, чтобы будут яды какие-то. Я очень хотел хаосом поиграть, но, блядь, пока что вот эти вот круги фигачивания, ну, это полный бред. Какой-то, не знаю, типа, улучшите первые скиллы там на первых уровнях. Я уже не помню, как называется эти. Не Doom Blast. Ну, такое неплохо. Я думаю, может, спектрами начать все же. Просто единственное, что это нужно, найти каких-то хороших и реально прикольных спектров, которые реально хорошо чистят. Ну, блин, это нужно либо блин, это тоже зависит сколько. Хорошо, у тебя будет там плюс-минус 300 с палкой, 300 спирита. Ну, сколько ты сможешь себе спектров сделать, блядь? 4-5 нормальных. Все остальные тебе нужно какие-то баферные. Либо выбирать какие-то баферных 2. И все остальные, опять же, те же самые. Блин, ну такое себе, не хочу я спектров. Они, блядь, еле-еле идут. Нафиг их нужно управлять, вперед их отправлять и так далее. Бесит. Трактурки. Так что да, такое. М. Ну, такое, я не знаю, такое. Ну, типа, не в плане того, что я недоволен, а в плане того, что, не, ну, типа, все ок, как бы, но но есть некоторые но. Всё нет. А чё но? Какие но, бля? Вроде бы все отлично. Я вот это уже цепляюсь. М. Так. Вы пока послушайте этот, а я
So
хочу
true, you can
кое-что,
use the ingredients of one
э,
in the other, yeah, or the outcome of one as an ingredient in
я
another.
хочу
Cool. We'll
пойти
talk more about
кое-что
crafting a
сделать
little
и
bit later on for
вернусь.
sure, because there was a lot
Ну,
announced
завтра
there,
уже,
which I'm
скорее
quite
всего, будет
excited
русская
about.
версия выйдет,
Definitely
или даже
exceeded
сейчас
my
уже
predictions for what we'll be
вышла с
adding into it so
переводом
far.
русской версии, с
Firstly, though,
субтитрами.
just a quick
Поэтому,
clarification on the league. So
да.
there's not going to
Первая
be a
вещь,
wipe
вторая
for
вещь.
new
Скорее
players
всего,
joining
будут все
us.
амазонкой
If
это
you were
играть.
playing on a character, you can still keep playing
Я
on your
уверен,
character.
что все будут амазонкой играть.
But a lot of long-term Path of Exile players know the
Ну,
importance of
блин, с одной стороны, хотелось
playing
бы
on a
ей
fresh start,
сыграть, но
and it's
это
also
сейчас
really important for
все
you
туда
guys as well.
For sure, yeah.
вломятся за
I mean,
нее.
basically, if we don't
Все,
any
просто
character
вот
that's
каждый.
like
Кому не
come
лень.
from before, you're just not gonna like because the balance is so
Я
different and
хочу
because so many
личку
things have
посмотреть.
changed.
Вот
We
что...
really there's like no point in even listening to feedback for someone who's playing in the old league. Like it
Вот
really has to
особенности
be that you're
лички
doing a
хочу
fresh start and we're
посмотреть, вот
sort of seeing how
реально.
things go
Вот это единственное
in the
пока
new
что мне
economy.
что интересно.
So
Вот
like we were really
кто
sort
в
of
нее
it was kind of an
засунули,
interesting decision about
что есть
whether or not we should make it
интересного.
so that all the content is exclusive. Like, or rather, like, what amount of
М,
content would be exclusive to the league versus not. And the issue that we had was is that, so I mean, like, a league means something in Path of Exile. You know, like, in order for something to
Ну и
rise to the level of a
блинский.
league, it needs
Ладно.
like a certain amount of features.
Ладно, так, мне нужно
And
на 5 минут отойти. Сейчас
the
я
original thing we were thinking about
поставлю
doing that
и
way would be the Asmeri
пойдем
and the
дальше что-то
Wisps.
делать.
But there wasn't quite like the kind of
Секунду.
like meta mechanics and stuff with that. So
Текст.
like we didn't quite rise to the level of feeling like it deserved to be a challenge league. And at the same time, we've also got a lot of new players playing Path of Exile 2, never played Path of Exile before. So we were a little bit like we kind of were deciding like, okay, should we should we make them exclusive or not? We sort of decided, you know what, for this one we're not going to.
Как-то
And then
так
what we'll probably try
поставлю.
and do is for the next
Сто
league
геймов
that we do,
саппорт.
we'll actually make it a
Да.
proper challenge league with like its own exclusive mechanic and so
И
on.
что я хотел?
But
Ага,
yeah, it's a little bit funny because
переход.
like in early
Так,
access,
и
it's a bit
я
of a
сейчас
different
приду.
situation with different, you know, like, and so yeah, we'll sort of see how this goes anyway. But certainly, I would encourage everyone just like start again on a new character. And I think you'll have a much better time because obviously if there's structural changes to the passive tree. It's like if you log in with your old character, you're going to have like your tree's going to get reset. You have to do stuff. There's things like that are going to happen that mean that and also just balance changes, right? Like huge numbers of them. So you're going to have a better time playing from the start.
That's it. And speaking of the Huntress, then, so we saw initial Huntress quite some time ago now and had some hands-on time with it and things, but I certainly, having played that before and played it now recently, the Huntress has changed quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was the, how hard was it to get it ready for release? What was kind of the key there?
I mean, it's funny because class design is one of those things where every time
напугал,
you
я еще
add
здесь.
something, it can make you reevaluate everything else, which is why it's so hard to predict
Yes.
like how long a class will take. So like it
А меня
changed
вообще
a
слышно?
lot since the last time we had like we were showing Huntress. And honestly, like it's like while there are some skills that you will still see, like it just plays completely different. And I mean, whenever we're looking in like how
Yeah.
we're going to design something like this, it really comes down to like what is it's the special about the character class. Like how can we double down on that to make sure it feels different? So with the Huntress, you've obviously got spears as a base type. The key difference between a spear and any other weapon type is that you can both use them at melee and you can also use them at range. You can throw them. And so because of that, we really were just really trying to incentivize everything possible so that you use both of those things. And action RPG players, they generally speaking,
Ну,
the
надеюсь,
balance
меня
is
нормально
really
было
such
слышно
that
все это время.
you only really want to do one thing and do that
Yeah.
one thing well. So trying
Я
to
так
incentivize
просматриваю,
both
ну,
ranged
не
and
очень, да.
melee is quite a thing. And I mean, the way we do it effectively is try to make sure that like there are combo chains where a ranged thing can combo with something that's melee and a melee thing can combo with something that's ranged, and then also give you good abilities to move between the two states. And so that kind of means that you end up with a very like agile character, like you're constantly moving like backwards and forwards and kind of moving around. And I would say that like given that it's the Dex character, that it's good that it feels that way, that it feels the most agile of all of the melee character classes. You know, that's been a really good one. But you know, I mean, look, there are, in terms of changes, I mean, look, there are just changes all the time. Like the frenzy charge thing was like relatively late in development. Like there's like quite a lot of things going on that just meant that, you know, the field kept on evolving. And another big one, of course, was parry, which I honestly was very skeptical of working. And Mark, Mark was the one who saved it. Honestly, like I was like, you know what? There was like 3 times I think where I was like, you know what? I don't think it's gonna work. And then you were like, okay, I think you know we're gonna save this.
I was like, give me a week.
Yeah, exactly. And it works completely differently for most games, because in most games, obviously, for parrying, the way that works is that, you know, you have to time like to push the block button at exactly the right time. But that's just something that just wouldn't work in our combat system, because you know, you're often packs of monsters. It's just like you don't really have the ability to read combat in that way in our game. And at the same time, we need to make something where there's going to be, like, you know, if a single monster in a pack hits you, you need to be able to respond to that with something that's going to, you know, you need to be able to respond in a way where you don't just then immediately get hit by a bunch of other stuff.
Yes.
So having it so that the parry, like it always parries, but it's then taking advantage of what the parry does to the monster by following up with something that's going to give you, like, you know, an explosion or something like that to kind of deal with the pack. That's something that sort of allows that counter gameplay to work in our game. So you've kind of got 2 primary parry follow-ups. You've got the frenzy charge one, which dashes back, which means that, you know, you don't have to worry about the monsters hitting you. And then you've also got the one that there's another one which I don't believe we showed there, which you know, called Fangs of Frost, which does a counter where you attack with ice, which freezes the pack. So it's another way to kind of, so in both cases, you've kind of got something that's kind of dealing with the fact that you've got all these monsters around you. And that was kind of the biggest challenge, I think, that we had with that mechanic.
Yeah, I'll also make note of, there was a support gem I found that you can attach to any attack that allows you to follow up parry to generate a frenzy charge too. So it doesn't even have to be the backflip.
Yeah,
You
in
can
that case. Yeah, I mean, there's other,
create your own parry.
Yep, and then of course there's always Sniper's Mark, you know, and there's like there's a skill that does give you a guaranteed crit, so that's a potential option as well. Like you've got a few different ways to generate them.
Because parry guarantees a light stun.
Yeah.
You always get that small window to actually engage or do a thing before before you're under danger again.
And I'll tell you this, like, I am one of those players who never parry, right? In any game ever, because I can never do it. It's always just so frustrating. So I was very skeptical of that, but it feels really good. You've both managed to make it something that's easy to do, because you can just hold the button down and parry at any time. There's no skill involved in that. But at the same time, you've incentivized making it so that you do want to still try and time it as best you can personally. Well, how have you done that? How have you made it so that, like, you actually still want to kind of play it skillfully?
Well, I mean, ultimately, you know, anytime you're holding down the parry button is when you're not attacking, right?
Exactly.
So you still want to kind of minimize the window, but at the same time, like, the timing is just not, like, you know, not as bad. But the nice thing as well is that, like, once you do successfully parry, it's very obvious. You get the sound, you get the token on the monster. It's very chunky.
Yeah.
So you know, it means it's very obvious when you're supposed to counterattack. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. I think that it came out really well. And honestly, one of the funny things about it is that it immediately made me realize, like, how bad shields are in comparison, which is why we're also trying to ninja in a change to how shields work at the last minute, which we'll see if it makes it into 020. I was playing around with it last night.
This was 8 p.m. last night.
Yeah, 8 p.m. last night, exactly. I was
messing with this.
Yeah, messing around with it. And so, you know, I won't talk too much about how that's going to work, but effectively we want to make shields, you know, the shields better as well, and kind of build something into those to make them more interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the plan there. We'll see if it makes it for 020.
Yeah, following that kind of similar design space idea of being able to do a bit more with it.
Yeah,
and then
100%.
that feed into other skills and things like that as well.
100%.
There's a lot of room there to play with.
Yeah.
So we talked about Huntress being very, very combo heavy, and she has the deepest combo chains out of anyone so far, even exceeding, like, things you can do with Monk. You got 3-4 different skills deep of things you can start to synergize together. So how do you balance? How do you make that fun? Firstly, like, rather than, like, onerous, for example.
Well, I mean, I guess there's a few things. Like, one of them is it just has to be very readable and understandable when, like, you know, like what you can do and when you can do it. And I think the other thing that's really to our advantage here is reusing skills in multiple ways, so you can make a deeper combo chain without requiring you to be using as many skills in order to do it. So the way that Whirling Slash and Tornadoes interact with ground effects and kind of like all that stuff sort of means that, you know, you're using Whirling Slash multiple times as part of the same combo chain. And that's an idea, I think, that I'd like to try and explore more, because I think that it is a cool way to kind of extend the combo chain, yeah, as I said, without sort of getting too many things involved, and that makes it a lot cooler. So yeah, I'll think a bit more about, you know, how we can apply that to other classes and other skills, but yeah, it's worked out really well here.
Yeah, it's a bit of like a loose create your own combo system in a way. Like obviously there's intended combos, but because it's interacting with something that's fundamental like ground effects, you're able to combo with anything that creates a ground effect. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Like I added shocked ground to the backflip skill, or I got a companion pet that had a shocked ground aura.
Nice.
As like that was just there and that was available all the time.
I mean, it's funny as well because it also works on just enemy ground effects, and so sometimes you can just get a damage boost because the rare just happen to be dropping ground fire or something. So that's kind of fun. But it's been it's just a lot of fun to play. You know, the first time I ran into that was actually in the graveyard, where there's these like chests that like pop open with fire, and like I was using tornadoes, and then one of them just randomly turned into a fire tornado, and I'm like, oh, what happened there? Oh, yeah, sweet. It was just like a really cool moment where it just sort of interacted with the environment, which was really fun.
It always feels like you're getting a little bit of something extra for free when you're taking advantage of the enemy effects, or a boss fight that just has burning ground everywhere. It's like sweet. So how do you go about balancing though when you have a class that has deeper combos and kind of somewhat requires you to do a bit more versus a class or a skill or a build that is just bonk?
I mean, you have to ultimately make the combos matter, right? And I think actually that's one of those things that we're trying to really focus on with the balance changes we're doing in Dawn of the Hunt more generally, is making sure that even, like, I think it's the case where some of the combo gameplay kind of degenerates a little bit by end game in a way that, like, I want to make sure it still feels rewarded. And so we were sort of doing various checks, you know, like recently about, you know, like as a random example, right? Like, so on the Mercenary, we found that doing, you know, but when you get to endgame, doing armor break, what's it called? The armor piercing that causes armor break, followed with high velocity rounds, is just worse than just using high velocity rounds. And that's like really bad, right? Like we have to make sure that we're improving that stuff. So it's like sometimes you just get these things where like the balance by endgame kind of degenerates in a way that that doesn't support the combo anymore. And so we have to make sure that when we're looking at buffing things, that we're like making sure that when we're doing it, it's to support the fact that using more things is actually a good thing. Yeah, we're really trying to make sure that we're bringing some of that, you know, improving some of that stuff as well as we're making the balance changes.
So do you have like a baseline there of where like the really simplest build should be, the build that just bonks? Like,
I mean, you mean in terms of damage or in terms of like what it does? You know, I mean, we always want.
I guess
be able to build that way,
the players have to do a combo.
I mean,
like, for
no,
people who don't want
ultimately
to.
you never have to, right? But it sort of what it means is that you know, you are sacrificing something. And look, the ideal situation is that like you don't feel like you have to do combos. You feel like you want to do combos, right? Like, because you feel rewarded for them. It's like should feel like a fun, like, oh, I can add this. You know, like it's the feeling you should be getting.
Yeah.
Так, я вернулся.
Doing that very well. Must have been extremely hard. I don't think I've ever seen this like ranged melee combo done well before.
Right. Well, I mean, it does require a lot
Так.
of discipline, and it means that a lot of skills like
Что мы делаем?
end up on the cutting room floor because you try them out and then you realize, well, if this is in the game, then that's the only thing I'm ever going to do. So you got to be really careful about that stuff.
Certainly playing the Huntress now makes me go back and look at the other classes and be like, we need to up that the level there, and we missed the mark a little bit now because this is better. And who's to say the next class won't be better and make us question even this? But you know,
but that's the way it is with class
А
design.
нету языка.
Like, literally, when you make a new class, you question everything. He's not understating the level of questioning everything.
Yeah, do you see like going back to the monk at some point and looking for more like
Окей.
opportunities to link skills together with
I mean,
combos?
Начало охоты, копейщица, 20 новых умений.
And we need to add more pieces for
Because
a lot.
I think there's at least 4 skills that were designed in Hunt in the monk currently. Just you know.
Range are the same. There was extra poison skills. It was intended to be more.
Нельзя как-то более подробно посмотреть?
Obviously, at some point, fill all that
Блин,
in.
умения. Ну, понятное дело, здесь этот.
We're gonna try and
Творение
increase a little
призраков,
bit,
понятное
much like how
дело.
Ray Spectre and
Насколько
I mean,
не
the
будет
outputs with
и...
the Huntress, but we were like, let's give something for the Ranger this time. Let's give something for the summoners out there this time, and so we're just gonna
Нету
keep
как
filling in
бы
those gaps over time.
And it feels like you're getting
подробностей
designed as you go
нету.
too. So I imagine the last class you're going to release is going to be like amazing. You look back at the first ones and be like, ooh.
Possibly.
Well, that is the worry.
Камней.
But whatever. That
But
just
look, with that, which means
yeah.
we've got another round of going
It's
through
gonna
everything and
Ведомость.
improving
Yeah.
stuff again, right? So,
And
yeah.
that will never end.
Um,
Ну, здесь
That's
может
it.
скорость атаки за
So,
каждый их
with the
использование
parry
скорость.
came the kind of looking at
Актуально.
the player getting stunned, in
Mhm.
particular player heavy stun.
Более
So
установок уникальных
it's always hard to tell
предметов.
players like, hey, we're gonna do something to you, and
Оберег.
bad thing.
Mhm.
You're not gonna like this.
Well, the funny
So
thing,
let's
I
talk
mean,
about why.
Ну,
there's a
новые
few, there's a
обереги,
few
понял.
things like that actually, because
Новые
so I mean,
события,
pushed out, like, we needed the
огоньки
downside of parry
из
to be, like that. Yeah, you get stunned out of it. But then when we're looking at how long, like we're like, okay, right
новой
now,
области
even, and it's
сил
true with
высокого
shield lock
уровня
as well, by the
карт.
way. It's like if you get stunned out of it,
Ну,
the amount of
типа,
time that
ну,
you get
почему
stunned
я
out
через
for,
это
it's
говно.
actually not even enough time for most bosses to
Новые
do a full-on
события,
attack on.
уникальные
It's like, what's the
ларцы.
downside if
Ну,
it doesn't even
будут
have
долго
enough time? So we did
открываться,
have
как
to extend that out a
всегда.
little bit, and it
Окей,
makes you a
это
little bit more
значит, ты
careful.
чистишь здесь
But
землю, она
just to
очищается,
warn
ты там
people, right,
бьешь,
there's
и
a few
там
other things
выпадают
like
уже
we
кристаллики, типа
we
такого.
lowered
Но случайное
what's called
свойство
the
раскалывает, окей.
thing now, the thing that makes you more easy
Мгм.
to be elemental statuses apply to you.
Сменил 14, закрепляю его на
So we
месте.
lowered element
Окей.
threshold to actually make it so the player has those
Ну, тут
mechanics
понятно,
happen
система
all the time,
больше
right?
очисти
Because like right now through
этих,
campaign, like you barely get frozen or burning or shot
как бы
really,
очисти
to be honest.
больше
So there's
этих
stuff like that we've had to do to kind of make sure that that
башен
if
и
you don't
так
have
далее,
that stuff
тем самым
actually
больше будет
happen to
этого.
you,
Ну,
there's no
понятно.
point in mitigating it.
Ну,
Like,
эссенция.
things like charms were like not very useful because those mechanics
А,
were
при
damage and stuff like that, right?
осквернении. О,
But the downsides
прикольно.
do actually matter in order to make it so that that you then
Улучшает
there's other
обычно
things you can
предмет
do to
волшебный или
bypass those
волшебный
downsides.
предмет до редкого с
So yeah, that's
одним
kind of one of those
свойством,
things that
гарантированным
you have to make
свойством.
sure is there.
Окей.
I did always find it a little bit strange that like
Ну
I was able
и
to count the number of
играйте
times I
в
was
начале
frozen
охоты
in the
4
campaign in 1
апреля.
trigger.
For sure.
Ясненько.
For sure. But
And
yes,
it's always by those vile ghosts.
yes.
Вот, я ее мою базарю, а там на фоне, наверное, орет она. Ладно. Так, что тут у нас дальше? Ну, не знаю, типа... Не, ну, как бы все прикольно выглядит. Я ничего не буду тут выдумывать. Реально все прикольно выглядит. Как бы... Еще музычку. Сейчас, секундочку. Музыку вот включу. М. Ту-ту-ту. Я думаю, что трансляцию на Ютубе можно закрыть, бо я уже все. Сейчас пойдем, может, поиграем в Heroes Age, либо что-то другое. Поэтому да. М. Поэтому с Ютуба переходите на Twitch, если что. И погнали дальше.